and it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Hi everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Champ.ie podcast, featuring a weekend where there are handicaps galore to get your teeth and your wallet into. Handicaps at Warwick, Kempton, and also at Fairyhouse in Ireland are the highlights of Saturday. So that's why we've sent for the heavy mob in this Boyle Sports production to try and sort it. And that heavy mob is in the shape of Mr. Ronan Groome, who's looking very young and handsome today. He's obviously already worked out what's going to win all of them. And also on the programme is Barry, the founder of Champ.ie. And I'm delighted to say Cathal BYRNES, part of the legendary Limerick family, will join us later. They've got a runner in the UK on Saturday at Kempton. And can they win yet another handicap? They're now getting quite used to the old cross, the Irish Sea Stakes. As always, please subscribe and like the podcast. And please also enter your 5 casts. More on that as we go along, but we must get straight into this week. Warwick has had an awful lot of rain. They won't want any more. Heavy ground at Warwick, and that really is seriously bottomless. 13 millimetres of rain fell in the course of the previous 24 hours. They'll be praying it's going to be dry until the weekend for their feature race of the year. We'll go through them in the race card order, the 3 races we're going to feature. Start off with this Hampton novice chase at 150. There are 4 runners declared, but that's about a couple of them. And the one thing you can say about Paul Nicker's horses is he's never saddled a complete unknown in his life. But this complete unknown runner, I think, probably will go favourite if it turns up.
Yeah, you would have thought so. Mike did it well last time at Foss Lass, and previously he'd run quite well in the big handicap, or the 3 mile. It used to be the fixed brush at Haydock. He ran 5th at Botox Has there. Like, he was a nice horse last season. He won that big final, the novice handicap final at Sandown, which can often throw up a nice winner. And I thought he jumped very well first time out. So look, he's priced accordingly. I think he's a 5-4 shot on declarations there. I thought Gordon's horse was potentially underrated here. Obviously, the big news with Davy coming back, but Sam Ewing takes the ride here, goes over for Gordon, the gopher. Maybe that's a bit of Irish bias coming in or something like that. But I thought he did it well when he won, and he was second to a nice horse in Hador at Fairyhouse last time. And just with the second favourite there, Galia de Leto, obviously had a shocking jumping display last time in the Cathal Star. So you kind of want to be maybe swerving her for now, see how she gets on. So on that thing, I thought the gopher could move into the second favourite. Like, the horse he beat on his debut was Churchtown Warrior, who obviously went on to win, or to finish second to Galliard de Mayneel in the Grade 1 at Leopardstown Christmas. So that reads pretty good form. So I thought the gopher is probably a bit underrated by the market, and potentially could start second favourite. So I'll probably put him in for my 5 cast purposes to kick me off.
Good to see that good to hear that you studied Franglais at the same school as I did. Some of these French horses. Whereas Monsieur Doyle, of course, Parlez-vous Français? What wins this?
I'm gonna say with the gopher for a bit of value. I think Ronan's right here. This certainly the one I would swerve is Gala Delato, as Ronan mentioned. She had no excuses last time. I give her a big chance on St. Stephen's Day, and the ground is in her favour here, but she only gets £2 off complete unknown. He jumped the last with plenty in hand, I thought, last time. It took him a while to get going. I thought it was a good performance on his first start over fences. But I think the gopher is probably the most interesting. Officially the highest rated in here. He's been given 146 by the British handicapper. He's had 3 starts over fences, a grade 3 winner over herds. I think there's a lot more. I think easily at the end of the season, this will be the best horse, I think, to come out of the race. It's a horse I liked last season. I think the form with Churchtown Warrior on his penultimate start is decent. And I think moving up to 3 miles on this really testing conditions is going to suit. So I would side with the gopher for a bit of value. I think 4-1 there's probably juice in that price.
And of course, Gordon's got other horses. He's not just coming over for one ride. He's got quite a few. I think the word is a van load coming to Warwick. He doesn't have a runner, and this one stays at home. There's no Irish Raider in the Ballymore Leamington, and this will take some getting 2 miles 5 in heavy ground. We've got Givega, who is unbeaten. We've got Greg Downing for the Skeltons in their backyard, who's won its last 2. Knowsley Road for Paul Nicholls is 2 from 2. And Moon Hunter for Henry Daly and Adrian Heskin, another fascinating runner. You can make a case out for most of these, can't you, Barry?
Yeah, and it is pretty competitive. Ginny's Destiny is the one I came down on for Tom Lacey. He does like his trips up to Warwick. Of course, sent off Adramal, 7-2 favourite for this race in the past, and that won the race. The more juice, the better for this horse. Real galloping sort, but I do think it has a little bit more class than Adramal, who won the race for Tom in the past. As mentioned, the softer the ground, I think the better with this horse. And I love the way he reversed the form on its second start over hurdles with Mexico. So finished behind Mexico at entry and first start of the season. And that form is working out quite well. He reversed that form, beat Mexico last time emphatically up at Warwick by a distance of 8.5 lengths. Mexico has since come out and bolted up by 9 lengths so on his next start. So that form is working out well. And he's the top rated in here of 133. I'd be quite keen on Ginny's Destiny. It looks a competitive race.
And he is a man who's, I'm told, in the course of writing a book, and it's called Great Mudlarks I Have Backed. Because one thing's for certain, Mr. Muddy Paws will win this. This will be testing, Ronan.
Yeah, and it's funny enough, the one I like is potentially I'm slightly concerned about the heavy ground, but I can't get away from the way Knowsley Road won down at Chepstow last time. I thought he was really good. The Nicholls horse here, he made all that day, set a really strong pace in front, and it was future investment. It kind of came to him at the second last, and you're thinking he's vulnerable, but he really kicked on again for Lorcan Williams. The pair of them came miles clear of the third there, Liberty Hunter for Evan Williams, who's gone on and won again. I think it's good form, and it was a good time on the day as well. I do like the horse Barry put up. I like they tied it really well at Warwick over the course and distance on soft ground at Warwick, which obviously it's a bit heavier there now, but he's proven on the course and distance on soft ground, which could be, as you say, a big factor in this race. I just can't get away from the way Knowsley Road won at Chepstow. I think he could be a smart prospect. And what I do agree as well, it's a good race. This could throw up a nice horse, one for the Ballymore perhaps, and that hasn't been the case for a while, I suppose, since Willoughby Court won this race back in, what would that be, 2018, 17. So this could throw up a nice winner, but I think if there is a Cheltenham horse in here, it's going to be Knowsley Road.
Okay, making a note of this, don't forget your Boyles Sports 5 cast. That's 2 legs done. Well, the feature race at Warwick is the feature race of their entire year at Warwick. It is the Wigley Group Classic Handicap Chase. £100,000, field of 14. Race won in the past by one for Arthur, who, of course, went on to win the Grand National. Top weight this time, 3 under 5 for Adrian Heskin, Paul Nicholls. Willie Mullins sends Mr. Incredible, who was brought down last time, across to take his chance. And of course, Mr. Incredible named after Mr. Ronan Groome.
I didn't know that was going to be a segue.
Neither did I.
I backed him in a Paddy Power, Mr. Incredible, and obviously he's brought down quite early there. He was punted into 7-1 for the Paddy Power, so I can't imagine he's going to go off much bigger than that sort of price here. In what looks, so it's a longer trip. It's 3-5, but Willie wouldn't be sending him over if he didn't think he could stay. He's a rare runner outside the major festivals in Britain for Willie Mullins, so he is very interesting, I guess. Look, there's a lot you can make a case for. It's a very competitive race, as it usually is. I Will Do It is obviously very interesting there for Sam Thomas, the Welsh national winner. Probably prepped for this, but I came down on Alan King's runner, Not a Chance, who won this a couple of seasons ago. I just think he's interesting coming into this off the back of a 4-2 Lamilos banger. That form is actually quite smart now. Lord Domenil was second in that race as well, and he's in here as well. But not a chance has got the course and distance form. Obviously, they won this, and he's a lot lower now in the ratings than he was when he had to compete in the race last year, and he's well beaten. I'd say it seems to me, and I'd be very surprised if this wasn't the case, that Alan King has kind of, revolved his whole season around this, giving them the run at Bangor and then pulling him away for this race. So if that is the case, and he's on his fit and firing form here, he's a well handicapped sort with proven course form. And I thought a price of like 8-1, 9-1 is fair enough for him. So I'm going to side with him.
Barry?
The one I like is Nestor Park. There's a couple in here actually getting on in age. This is a 10-year-old, but he's a lightly raced 10-year-old. Has won at Warwick in the past. Ben Pauling is absolutely flying at the moment, 28% strike rate. Mentioned there is a couple getting on. I suppose 10-year-old horses are older. Actually have quite a decent record in this race. This horse likes to be ridden prominent. We saw last year with Eclair Surf, got a freebie out in front and was hard to peg back. This horse likes to be ridden forward. He jumps well. I thought it was a really decent return over 3 mile and 4 furlong at Haydock last time when last seen. He's ran well on heavy ground in the past, so I don't think that's going to be an issue for him. And stripping that a little bit fitter, he's a nice racing weight at 10 stone 12 at 9-1. I thought Pauling's runner here, Nestor Park, each way. But like, what do you make of Mr. Incredible? You've mentioned him, Mr. Incredible. I mean, what does his form read? His last 3 starts, he was pulled up and he refused to race and he was brought down. So it's hard to know what to make of Mr. Incredible. Obviously Woody's come here for the prize and Woody Brian Hayes takes the ride. But Nestor Park, I think, represents fair value there at 9-1 each way.
Bad news, I agree with you. Although I would mention also that the trouble is you're going to get very expensive waiting for it. I am convinced that there is a big race in Fortescue. And he's been there or thereabouts, but then he chucks in the odd dustbin of a run. Ran in the Grand National, having previously won very well at Ascot in the limited handicap listed race, the Swinley. And on that form, he's got a real chance, but was only 4th behind Ashtown Lad in the Beecher, which was decent form. He's got the route to the poorhouse written all over him, but he'll have to do for me each way. So that is Warwick. 3 races done from there. Hope you're getting your 5 casts all nicely well organised. That's what we want.
Download the Boyle Sports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
There are some terrific chases elsewhere and a good hurdle race at Kempton. And before we hear from Cathal BYRNES, particularly about the Lanzarote, let's go to Ireland and Fairyhouse. And this Dan and Joan Moore Memorial, which is always a really good race. But Fairyhouse will also be very testing ahead of the meeting, which features the return of Davy Russell, who will ride in the opening race on the card. He rides in the first at 12:27, first ride since returning from retirement. It could be an interesting race because he rides Jazzy Matty against Willie Mullins and Paul Town, and then the unbeaten Blood Destiny. But this is the 2:12, the race. We're looking at €80,000 in the pot and a field of 12, 2 miles, 1 furlong. Dunvegan is at the top of the weights. But I suspect that a certain JP McManus may well be looking forward to this with Cade Boy and Andy Dufresne. And then Willie Mullins has got Fan de Bleu for the Munir Asway team that's doing so well. But Mr. Groome, it falls to you to pick the winner.
Yeah, it's a great race, Mike. It's always very competitive, and it looks like a bit of quality in this year, as you say, with Dunvegan. Obviously, his last run was in the Tingle Creek. Andy Dufresne has been competing in Grade 1s as well, so they framed the race really nicely. Look, I hadn't looked at the betting for the race this week, and obviously given the race a good look through this morning, and I thought Cade Boy obviously had a really good chance off the back of his run over the course and distance last time. He made a mistake 4 out there and was just coming, and he's a lovely profile, but he's he only had 4 runs, so he's nice and progressive, but he's not half priced defensively. 2-1 in a race like this seems quite short to me with the bookmakers that are pricing it up so far. Look, I would rather take a chance at something at double figures. And again, these prices that I see for the likes of Castle Grace Paddy and Rebel Gold are the two I came down, and I'm sure they're going to be bigger prices on the day once the betting markets form. Castle Grace Paddy, no one will want to back him because he's a 12-year-old, but he was third in this race last season. Off a much higher mark. He was £10 higher than he is now. He ran fourth in the Fortria chase at Navan on his comeback. That wasn't a bad run at all. I'm sure Pat Fahey will have had this race in mind for him since that. He won on the flat during the summer. So although he's 12, he's still showing plenty of ability. And it's interesting, he's got Brian Cooper booked for him, which suggests to me that there's a bit of confidence behind him. And Rebel Gold is the other one I'm really interested in. He was third or second last time to Mascada. He was fifth in the aforementioned race that I just talked about, Fairyhouse there, that Cade Boy was in. That was a good run, but he rebelled on soft ground, heavier ground down in that Limerick. He was second to a horse called Mascada into Tim Duggan. I really like this mare Mascada, half tempted to back her at a big price for the mare's chase. I think she's really progressive. So for Rebel Gold to finish second to her, I thought it was a big run. The front sheet came clear there. And I think on soft, heavy ground back at Fairyhouse, he can run a huge race. Dennis O'Regan is booked season around the 14-1 mark, but I can see him being a bit bigger on the day. So they'd be my two against the field.
Barry, what do you make of it? It's pretty competitive stuff, this, isn't it?
I think Ronan Groome has it absolutely spot on here with a horse at bigger prices. That's Rebel Gold. He certainly did catch the eye. I think he stepped forward from his run at Fairyhouse on second start. That run behind Mascada on deep ground. He's going to handle the conditions and drop him back again and trip to the minimum distance here. Albeit, look, he's £2 higher than when he ran at Fairyhouse last time off 134. But Cade Boyd is going to be on many people's lists here, and I do agree with Ronnie. He is quite short at 7-4. So there wasn't much between those two. Last time at Fairyhouse on penultimate start for Rebel Gold, that is. So Ronan's kind of made a good case there, nice racing weight as well. And I think the key thing with this Rebel Gold is he's going to handle the conditions, and I'd imagine he'll come forward again for his run last time at Limerick. So Dunvegan, obviously last year's winner, full value for that. He's going to have plenty in the weights. He does have Michael O'Sullivan's claim of £5, but it's hard to really see how he could be well handicapped off his current mark. Andy Dufresne is a bit of an enigma. If he came back to anything like his best, he'd obviously have a big chance. But the other one I do like at a single figure price, Mike, is Big Debates. And this is the one, look, for 5 cash purposes, I am going to put Big Debates in. He's a pound out of a handicap. He's a 10-year-old. But he really is improving. I think this Big Debates, 2 from 2 so far this season, beat Gallyhill, I thought, really, really comfortably last time in what was obviously a lower class race. He's stepping up majorly. He went up £11 into handicap. That is plenty. Philip Henright on board for Robert Tyner, who doesn't have too many horses at the moment. Certainly cut back in terms of his string. But I think the Big Debates was a good winner over course and distance last time. He'll handle the ground, and I think he's an improver. And I think it's 6-1. I think that's fair. I think so. I'm going to chance Big Debates, but I do think Ronan could be onto one at a bigger price with Rebel Gold.
And I'll just add one into the mix as well, only because I'm quite interested in how the horse will be campaigned here, and that is Epsom de Who. Had just one run and was second in its only run this season. Of course, this represents Gillinstown and Henry de Bromhead, and that was second to a horse called Nejamine at Cork in the Hilly Ways. You can make of that what you will, but he went into that race having won a decent Mallow handicap chase at Cork by 4 lengths from Golden Jewel. And I think, given the fact that almost anything you back is going to be each way, Banon de Who would do for me. And so to the last of the 5 races, but we're going to pause for a moment because Kempton providing a really good Coral Lanzarote with a maximum field of 20 going to post. But the enormous interest in the race involves the Irish. The fact that they're trying to come and win this race, named in honour of Lanzarote, who for years almost single-handedly tried to see off the Irish when trained by Fred Winter. 2 miles, 5.5 furlongs. This race has a maximum field of 20, as I mentioned. And again, there are several with chances, including some from Ireland. The JP McManus horse Comprond has top weight. But what about the Charles Byrnes horse? Charles with Green Glory, a winner last time in the UK in only 6. And he's got a fantastic record in Britain with the horses that he sends. And Cathal, his number 2, his son, and his heir, has been talking with Barry Doyle.
I'd like to be joined by Cathal BYRNES on the Champ.ie podcast ahead of what could be a big weekend for the yard.
Yeah, no, look, we're having a good season. We've won some nice races as well. Sure, Run for Oscar, win the Cesar, which is a massive thing, and then Philip got his first win at Cheltenham there in October. So some nice horses there, and they're thankfully doing running fairly well for us all season. They've stayed fit and healthy, and that's the main thing.
Super, and tell us about this Come Home Sober syndicate, because they had a big day up at Leopardstown.
Yeah, look, they've been a very lucky syndicate for us. They're a local syndicate, and they've had good couple, 4 or 5 horses through the years, and every horse they've had has won. The race that Green Glory won at Limerick, we actually won 9 years ago for them with Sea Light. He actually won twice that meeting at Leopardstown. And look, he went up the £10, winning by a length. So, we have to, we saw this race was there, and we said, look, we may as well enter him because there's not too many big pots at that distance for the time being.
2.5 miles soft ground, that's seemed to suit at Leopardstown. You'd imagine this is there's a lot in his favour.
Yeah, no, look, the ground, he should handle soft ground. If it was a little bit drier, it would definitely improve his chances. But it's going to be a different ball game now at Kempton. Sure, full field, 20 runners. I think there's only 12 in Leopardstown, and he's stepping out of novice company because that was only a novice handicap, and into open company against older, more tried horses, hardier horses. I mean, so it's going to be, he'll need to be a big step up, but we hope he'll be competitive. Yeah,
because looking back at his form, obviously last season in Punchestown was good to yielding ground, Cal, on that occasion. And he went off a big price as well, 25-1. Did he surprise you by winning the bumper at Punchestown?
We always knew he was going well, but look, bumpers at Punchestown aren't easily won, We always thought, there was definitely, we always thought he would go close to the bumper. And look, I think that bumper, everyone was very fancying their horse that day, and we thought we had a good each way chance, and I think the owners had a few quid in them that day, so everyone came home happy. And
it was full value for it anyway that day, wasn't he?
It was now, yeah, but he showed his greenness though when he got to the front. But he looked very good that day. He's just taken a long time just to over hurdles, just to mature and step forward, So yeah.
You'd be hopeful that there's a lot more to come from him.
Look, the more he matures, he's a novice, so you're always hopeful for the novice that they're always improving through the season, and that you're not really seeing the best of them until the spring. But you'd be hopeful that he should be able to be competitive off his mark. I think he's 1-2-7 in England, so sure he got the 10. He got the 10th win at Leopardstown with the English handicapper. Seems to have given him a bit of a chance. I say he took a bit of a different light to the race, and he gave him 6 extra. They can always go a lot more severe. So he's given him a chance. He's got a lovely race left.
Lovely. Well, best of luck with him over the weekend. Just moving through the stable string, you mentioned some great success going to the UK of late, and Run for Oscar, obviously winning the Cesar, which another one that's won at Cheltenham, Shoot First.
He got his break after he won there in October, and the target with him is to go straight for the Pretense. He's handled the track well, and seems to be suited for him. Definitely Arsul, he'll like the nicer spring ground. But it looks a fair race now. There was a wide margin winner at Leopardstown, but sure, he'll go there with his chance. Sure, there's a good group of lads there. Most of them are from Limerick, but they're all actually based out in Dubai, so they had a fantastic day at Cheltenham, and they're all geared up now to go to the festival.
Give us an update on Blazing Cow.
Look, he's gone away gone now. Carl said there last week, it's 50-50 for him to make it, just time-wise. still we just been a bit stop start with him, but we'll do everything to get him there that we can, and he's in good form at home. So just about getting the fitness, and the main thing is to try and get a prep run into him, because he's still, he's only had 3 runs over hurdles. So to step into Grade 1 open company at Cheltenham will be big ask if we don't get run into him. So that's the main thing, is to get him to a prep run. But he's good at home, and we're happy with him at the moment.
He's one that I'm sure you might think could take high rank this season, open company.
Look, he's rated like 147 over hurdles, so he needs to improve at least stone to be competitive there. But if he can step forward, he can definitely, you just be hoping to be up there, thereabouts anyway. But again, he'll need to step forward about a stone on his farm. But he's a horse that we like. He's probably one of the nicest horses we've had in years. So yeah.
Run for Oscar. Where might we see Run for Oscar again?
We gave him a speculative entry for the Red Sea Turf handicap out in Saudi Arabia, but we're well down the list there. But I'd imagine he might go to Cheltenham for one of the handicaps.
Super. Finally, before we let you go, any, I suppose, dark horse that we should be keeping an eye on? Maybe one that we haven't mentioned that could be winning races in the second half of the season.
1 or 2 unnamed bumper horses that haven't really got out yet. There might be an old Cork Cave horse there. But kind of the horses you've named are kind of the standout ones at the minute,
Well, sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
And this is the Champ.ie podcast with the last of the 5 races. Remember what you've got to do, the 5 cast, 5 tips. Like the podcast and you can win a free bet courtesy of Boyle Sports. And the biggest field of the weekend, the Coral Lanzarote handicap hurdle. 20 of them. As I said, JP's got a couple in there. A Staghorn for Archie Watson, much better known, of course, as a trainer of flat horses. Horse that won the Leamington 12 months ago. And further down, Outlaw Peter for Paul Nichols, Harry Cobden, and Scarface for Joe Tizard and Brendan Powell. And we've heard about Green Glory. So, Ronan, you put it all in a steam oven, cook at gas mark 25 minutes, and then you come out and tip.
Come out and tip 2 failed chasers coming back over hurdlers. I found this one really tricky, but again, I'm just going to earmark 2 that I like. Last year's winner, Cobbler's Dream, who the trends just don't suit. I don't think there's ever been a back-to-back winner of this race. Naturally enough, it's quite a competitive handicap hurdle, but he's coming back over hurdles. And I just went back and watched the race last season. He was like head and shoulders above them, really won well. Obviously, he's off a higher mark now, but he went on to Cheltenham and showed himself to, he ran second to Banbridge there in the Martin Pipe. That's a huge run. And things just haven't clicked for him over fences this season. He comes back over here, probably not in the same sort of form he was going into the race last year when he won quite well. He won a competitive race at Doncaster quite well. But he's still, low mileage over hurdles. And if he can click back into any sort of form, the same sort of form he was going into the race last season, he's going to have a huge chance. And Campron as well has been a horse I've always followed. Like, just again, hasn't happened for him over fence this season. Too many mistakes last time, and they've come back over hurdles now. Like, if you go back to his last hurdles run, he came over to Punchestown, beat a horse called Fast or Slow in a really, really, really good and competitive Irish handicap hurdle. Like, in the context of that form in this race is really strong. So, like, I know he's 10 pounds higher. He's got to give weight away to everything. But that was a really, really good run. Like, if he was staying over hurdles this season, I would have been looking at him as a potential to progress into a grade 2 type of horse. Maybe outside chance he can go for something like the Stairs hurdle. So for him to come back over here now off a mark of 147, like, you have to put a line through the chase for him. But I think he can do that and take a chance at it when you're dealing with prices like 16 to 1. I see available for him. So those 2 against the field would do for me. And I'd probably go with Campron if he pushed me for 1.
Any thoughts on anything else? Interesting card, Punchestown Sunday as well, but it's getting pretty wet everywhere, isn't it?
Getting pretty well everywhere, but I presume that will be to the liking of most trainers, especially at Punchestown. Looking forward to seeing and going to Punchestown on Sunday. Obviously, looking forward to seeing Impere Pa, who go for the Moscow Flyer novice hurdle. I think he has the potential to shake up the Supreme market. He's long odds on for that Moscow Flyer novice hurdle. Obviously, the race that Dysart Dynamo won before, and Wendy's won it with likes of Duvan as well. So I think there'll be a lot of eyes on him. And obviously, the Grade 3 there is a good race. We could see Gentleman's Game there again from Mouse Morris, who's a nice winner over Christmas. Journey with Me is in there as well. And Impervious, I believe, goes for this race, and obviously been bought by JP McManus since, and she's second favourite for the Mayor's Chase. So I think there's plenty of Cheltenham clues available at Punchestown on Sunday as well.
Barry?
Look, there was a horse that I liked in the bumper at Fairyhouse on Saturday, and it's Noel Mead's a horse called Faulty. Noel gave that a very positive mention when we spoke earlier on in the season. Obviously, we've mentioned a couple in the 5 cast already. I am really looking forward to seeing Ginny's Destiny on Saturday in the Leamington. Green Glory, I think, is very well handicapped. I will be backing that at 4-1. And on Sunday, just looking at the cards on Sunday, She Could Be Anything is a horse. I'm not sure she's going to go and beat Impere Pa, but I thought she really did impress me when winning on really testing ground. She's unbeaten over hurdles, 2 from 2 so far. Over hurdles, and she's by Melina, so I think she's quite a nice mare. She won at Limerick on soft to heavy ground over 2 miles 4 furlong. Just interested. The ground is really testing at Punchestown. She could potentially run a big race for Gordon Elliott. She's been left in there on for the Moscow Flyer, so it'll be interesting to see if she's declared. That's She Could Be Anything, Mike, on Sunday.
I'll just mention one. East Street runs at Wetherby on Saturday for the family of Trevor Hemmings and Sue Smith. Sue normally targets one at the Catterick North Yorkshire Grand National, but hasn't this year, and that's on Thursday. She's gone for this race instead. I think that might be quite significant, but again, like everywhere else, they'll be testing ground.
Just want to mention, Mike, very, very quickly, it is on Monday, and it was down to run at Clonmel today. It was in the tracker. We mentioned it in the Monday show. West Breeze for Mick Winters. It's going to love the testing ground. Handicap hurdle, 3 miles. On the penultimate race on the card at Punchestown on Monday. So West Breeze, I think, is well handicapped. So there you go.
Happy Christmas. Mick Winters will be back on the programme in a few weeks' time. And we've got something to ask him. Okay, let's do this 5 cast then and go straight through the 5 races. Remember what you've got to do. So Warwick, first of all, the Hampton at 150. Barry?
I'm going to go with the Goffer, Mike.
Ronan?
Same for me, the Goffer.
I'm going for Complete Unknown. Race 2, the Leamington.
I'm going to go with Ginny's Destiny, Mike. Barry here.
Yeah. You wait, as always, at the front of the queue. Ronan? He's at the front of the queue. He's never at the front of the race is the problem. Barry? Ronan, go on. Where you go?
Knowsley Road, and that's my nap as well.
Well, I'm going for Grey Downing in that. Onto the Classic, which is a great race at Warwick. 3 miles 5. Barry?
Going to go with Nestor Park, Mike, for Ben Pauling. Each way.
Yeah, you nicked it from me, but I'll be all right. Ronan?
Not a chance from me.
Is that my selection, or what do you think of my
Both.
selection?
Both.
What you think might win? All right, and I'm going to go, because it'll haunt me if I don't tip him and he wins. I'm convinced that Fortescue is due a good day. So Fortescue in that. The Fairyhouse featured the Moore Memorial. Ronan?
Go with Rebel Gold.
Barry?
For good old Danoli country, Ronan Groome. I'm going to go with Big Debates for Rob Tyner. To continue.
And for me, for the Jigginstown team. And then we end with the Lanzarote. You don't remember Lanzarote, Ronan? You're not old enough, are you? Let's go to Barry first.
I'm going to go Green Glory, Mike. Nap of the weekend.
Ronan?
I'm going with Camprond. I've never been to Lanzarote, but I have been to Warwick. I heard it's a brilliant day out. I have been on this day last time when Russ Blank won for Kerry Lee in the Classic Chase. So I do envy anyone who gets the luck to go to Warwick this weekend. It's great.
It's lovely. It'll be busy, but I'm just hoping the weather gods aren't going to do an nasty to it. That's all one can say.
Yeah.
And I've gone for Petit Tonnerre. Speaking of on air, it's time we were off air. So thanks to the Boyles Sports team, thanks to Barry, thanks to Ronan, and we'll be back with more of the same. I can almost hear the feeling of anticipation 7 days from now from all the Champ.ie team. Bye-bye.
Inside the final 150 yards, this is a special pair, and it's a Hampton's full of grace. And it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen.
Download the Boyle Sports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boyle Sports, this is betting.